Hi everyone, I'm Guadalupe Centanni and I will be presenting my investigation into Ireland's BIM skills gap. First of all, just a brief introduction about myself. I'm an architect currently working at Arcadis DPS Group in Ireland. My journey in the field of architecture began in 2014, and recently I successfully completed my studies at TU Dublin, earning a Master's of Science in Applied BIM Management. The research I'm going to present today was done for my capstone paper, and the overall goal was to identify the reason why the demand of BIM specialists is not satisfied in the Irish construction industry, and which steps should be followed to increase the number of skilled professionals. The presentation will focus on the importance of BIM skills and the challenges Ireland has encountered while transitioning into BIM. Also, I will provide an overview of some of the BIM education and training initiatives in Ireland. And finally, I will discuss the research methodology employed for this investigation and its findings. There is a shortage of professionals with a deep understanding of BIM and data management in Ireland, which is one common barrier that firms encounter when transitioning into BIM. Despite the potential benefits of BIM, several challenges need to be addressed to facilitate its adoption in Ireland. Client reluctance to embrace BIM processes and the lack of software programming expertise remain the main obstacles for organizations. It appears that these same challenges have persisted for over a decade, with the primary issues centering on the initial cost involving adopting BIM software, investment in computer upgrades, employee training, and technical support. Even though the country was lacking a formal BIM mandate, the progress of Ireland's transition to BIM is significant. However, the absence of such a requirement posed a challenge to achieve a seamless and efficient implementation of BIM. While organizations are responding to the industry shifts towards digitalization by implementing alterations to their business frameworks, the absence of a mandate affects the client's tendency to request the adoption of BIM in their projects. Considering this, introducing a BIM roadmap that aligns change management techniques with a BIM implementation plan can help bridge the gap between stakeholders and ensure the successful incorporation of BIM within an organization. Taking into account that BIM is the process that generates and assembles all the building's data and enables its management during the entire project, BIM skills consist of the knowledge, abilities, and expertise required to effectively use BIM software and processes. There is a gradual upward trend in the number of companies within the construction sector that are embracing BIM methodologies. This would imply that the number of competent BIM professionals in the country should be increasing accordingly. However, that is not the case, as it appears that the advancement of technology is outpacing the development of workforce skills and competencies. The shortage of employees possessing adequate BIM skills within the construction industry and among its clients is slowing down the global adoption of BIM. Considering the significant ongoing transformation toward digitization, it is highly likely that the workflows within the construction sector will be affected. The reality in Ireland is that the economic recession of 2009 negatively affected the construction sector's performance. During the economic recovery, numerous professions encountered a shortage of skilled personnel. It was only in 2018 that most companies could recover from the economic downturn and saw a return to profitability. The most affected areas in the country have been skills and education, since many skilled construction workers changed professions and or emigrated during the recession. Furthermore, third-level education institutions were challenged in attracting new individuals into surveying and engineering courses. Research demonstrates that to alter the way the Irish industry operates, it is essential to have an overall goal to transition into BIM. Moreover, organizations need to improve their change management strategies to reduce employee resistance. Change management denotes a resilient approach aiming to develop an organization's structure and capabilities to satisfy customer needs. In addition, the top managers are responsible for promoting a good work environment to attract new talents, which will contribute significantly to the company's performance. Therefore, implementing new methodologies usually occurs when employees manifest their desire for continuous improvement to their employer. However, in order to upgrade an organization's workflow, a top-down approach from management would be essential. At the moment, the top barriers to transition into BIM in Ireland includes the absence of in-house expertise, lack of client demand and training, and the lack of a mandate. The 2021 NPS survey revealed that even though most of the participants were going through a BIM adoption process, there seems to be different stages of implementation between clients, contractors, and manufacturers. This implies that until there is a consistent demand for BIM data, the full adoption of BIM as the default will not occur. In recent years, a number of government strategies have been launched in the country with the purpose of assessing the digital transition. These include the 4 items you can see on screen. First, we have the 2018-2021 roadmap for digital transition, which contains a training pillar to deliver awareness and an upskilling learning framework for the industry. Then, the digital technology in public works project strategy, aimed to increase the use of digital technology in public projects over a 4-year timeframe ending in 2021. Recently, there have been an update which established that BIM requirements will be introduced in the Capital Work Management Framework from January 2024. Project Ireland 2040, this strategy aims to facilitate research and innovation growth, higher education, and further education and training development. And last but not least, the Build Digital project, which was created to encourage higher levels of innovation and continuous improvement approaches within the Irish construction industry. Another factor to be considered is the impact of COVID-19 that had on the construction sector. The pandemic forced the industry to reevaluate lifestyles and work practices. It not only heightened the importance of digital technologies, but also prompted several organizations that previously underutilized BIM to recognize its significance as a vital component to be incorporated into their business models. Globally, there is a growing trend towards implementing interventions at a secondary level of education to address the shortage of skilled personnel. Multiple construction firms in Ireland collaborate with educational institutions to align with the CitA. The aim is to offer the BIM awareness at school and BIM-related training programs at universities that emphasize the growth of future skills and the development of young professionals. It is important to consider that current student generations have most likely grown up in a technologically advanced world, and as a result, they tend to prefer learning through active participation rather than passive observation. Using innovative approaches in schools to introduce BIM to students at an early stage will help them understand the significance of the construction sector. The introduction of work experience schemes or talent retention strategies could be key in encouraging young individuals into joining the construction industry, thereby mitigating skill shortages. The research method used for this project included reviewing existing literature and conducted semi-structured interviews. The interviews were conducted with Irish public and private construction sector representatives, including small and medium enterprises, large private organizations, and a large public organization. The interviews were divided into 3 phases: BIM awareness, BIM training education initiatives, and BIM mandate. The interviewees were asked a series of questions to determine the level of BIM awareness in their organizations. It appears that SMEs and large private businesses have been gradually implementing BIM. However, full implementation is yet to be achieved. Similarly, the public body realizes that it's still in the early stages of its BIM adoption process. Results from the interview reveal that the implementation of BIM has had a positive impact on the workflow of the organizations under study. It also became apparent that engagement between organizations from diverse industry sectors and with different levels of BIM adoption can strengthen the development of companies with lower BIM readiness. Regarding resistance to BIM, most respondents reported little resistance, with some initial opposition that faded over time. Age was not a decisive factor. Resistance was more about an individual mindset. Considering the impact COVID-19 had on the construction industry, organizations recognized that the pandemic acted as a catalyst for adopting flexible workflows, implementing various coordination approaches. Regarding client knowledge of BIM, the gap between organizations and clients had decreased, though clients within smaller Irish towns may have more limitations. And lower BIM adoption among international clients may result from their country's implementation levels. Participants were also questioned to determine if their respective organizations acknowledge the importance of BIM training and education initiatives. In this regard, large private organizations have multiple benefits for pursuing continuing professional development, including educational funding for third-level education courses, flexible working hours, study leave, and training through the company's online work platform. However, the situation with SMEs varies. Results indicates that the initiatives provided are not as extensive, and in some instances, BIM promotion is completely absent, and only a basic introduction to the company software is offered. In the case of the large public organization, there are indications of efforts to promote BIM awareness. However, there are currently no upskilling courses available. Considering that there have been initiatives in higher education institutions to add new BIM-focused courses, participants were asked if this was reflected within existing employees or new hires. Findings indicate that most employees acquire BIM knowledge through on-the-job experience, rather than formal courses. This could potentially lead to bad practice if individuals are not fully aware of the extent of BIM methodologies. The third part of the interview focused on organizations' views on the government's approach towards BIM implementation and which measures would facilitate BIM development in the industry. A significant majority believed that mandating BIM would drive industry development. It was mentioned that a mandate would likely lead to BIM becoming the norm within 5 to 10 years, as every transition requires a progressive period for adaptation. Without a mandate, resistance to BIM might persist, as organizations may not see the need to adopt it voluntarily. However, adopting BIM in the public sector was seen as a way to drive the private sector adoption, as many professionals work on both public and private projects. Throughout the interview, 3 main challenges regarding mandating BIM in Ireland were identified. First, a shortage of skilled professionals might lead to poor practices due to a lack of awareness and disregard for established standards. Second, the competitive nature of the construction industry. Prioritizing profits over collaboration could hinder BIM's implementation. And lastly, strict adherence to mandated requirements might limit the industry from exploring more efficient workflows or innovative solutions that don't align with the mandates. If a BIM mandate were implemented, training recommendations include incorporating BIM-focused modules into third-level institutions' curricula using interactive learning methods applicable to real-world scenarios. The introduction of relevant BIM courses at various national qualification levels, which could upskill professionals with diverse expertise levels. Also, introducing BIM education in schools could generate interest in young generations, potentially reducing the current skills gap. In conclusion, we have a total of 6 key findings in this slide to summarize the research. All in all, the main concern is that as long as there is a reluctance to embrace BIM, the nation's progress will be affected. The lack of a mandate impacted Ireland's effectiveness in satisfying society's needs and the market's competitive nature. As a result, an action plan needs to be established to prevent the loss of international contracts, exports, and Irish-based employment. It is important to highlight that the Irish construction industry could address skill shortages by making BIM more appealing to young professionals. Thank you so much for joining me in this presentation, and thanks to CitA for giving me a space in the BIM Gatherings 2023. Hope everybody keeps enjoying the rest of the presentations.